The 2025 football season will be the swan song season of the Mountain West Conference. For 20 years, this conference has been providing great entertainment, and I want to break down for you every team and every game that will be played in this conference this season. This is the Let's Run podcast. Folks, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for checking it out. The channel is doing great. I'm really happy with the growth that we've had. I've been really trying to up the uploads, especially as we get closer to the season. So while you're here, please do like this video. Please do subscribe to the channel. I will be covering the Mountain West Conference realignment, the Group of Five, and West Coast football all season. You are not going to want to miss it. And let's get into this video. So a really good creator that doesn't always have the nicest things to say about UNLV. I saw him do this format, and I'm not sure if somebody else had done it previously, but a really cool website called Playoff Predictors allows you to week by week for an entire conference put up the games that are going to be played and basically predict them. And it will give you the results of each of those games, in a column, so you can see what every record will for every team will be. And what I wanted to do today was go through the entire Mountain West Conference, game by game, team by team. Every single team and every single game will be discussed in this video. And at the end of the video, we're going to see where I would have the Mountain West Conference standings line up. I think it's a really cool idea. Credit to CF Budge is his name. I would follow him. I think he's a good follow for college football content. And let's just kind of dive into week 0. So this doesn't, I guess I shouldn't say week 0. This does not do, and I apologize for this ad. I can't, sometimes it goes away, but usually it's there. Basically, here's what it looks like. It shows you every game being played by every team in the conference every single week. So you can see Fresno, UNLV's game is here. New Mexico, every game that every team is playing in the conference is up here. And when you pick it up here on the left, it shows you what that team's record is. So you can do it and you can go week by week and do the entire season. So I thought this would be the best way for me to do. And I've had some really fun conversations with teams and fan bases around the Mountain West Conference to give me a better feel for how I think each team is going to do this season. So let's start with game 1. Game 1 on the list is, and just to note, the UNLV Idaho State game that will be taking place this Saturday will still be in its original place, and according to this software, it's a little buggy, it's a little glitchy, but it should give us a pretty good. So that game will still be covered. Don't fret, Rebel fans, is what I'm saying. Fresno State and Kansas. Now, this game is at Kansas. Kansas is opening up their brand new football stadium. It is a week 0 game. Because teams play Hawaii, they basically can play in week 0. That's kind of one of the extra rules in college football. Games not played in the continental United States, you basically get an extra week. And so Fresno State is a team that plays Hawaii, and Kansas is a team playing Fresno State, will be able to play week 0. Kansas is returning Jalen McDaniels, their incredibly good quarterback. Lance Leipold is a very good coach at the University of Kansas. Matt Entz at Fresno, I don't quite know what to think of him yet as a coach. Obviously, none of us do. He had some very good success at the FCS level. I think it might be a little bit of a build for him. Kansas is going to be a very good team this year, I think, and I think that they really could be. Like a lot of, I'm not the only one saying this, but there's a pretty good chance. And if you watched them towards the end of last year, that Kansas could be a legitimate Big 12 contender. So I have Kansas winning this game against Fresno State. Next up, we have Hawaii versus Stanford. Hawaii's actually favored in this game. There was a really cool headline about how it was a shame. It was basically shameful for Stanford to be an underdog against Hawaii. I do not trust Hawaii football. As you will see in this video, I will pick against them in almost every game. Stanford may be the worst Power 5 program in America next season, and I still think that is more than enough to beat Hawaii. So I will be picking against Hawaii, not just this game, but a lot of games this season. San Diego State will get a kind of cupcake FC. I think they're FCS Stony Brook. I'm not going to talk about that game much. San Diego State should have no problem clearing that one up at home. I will come to this Boise State South Florida game at the end because I think that's the most interesting one. I'll save the interesting ones kind of for the end of each week. I think Wyoming, Akron is not a bad team by any means, but I really don't know. It's on a Thursday. The Akron Zips. This is kind of a tough one. I feel like this is a bit of a coin flip. I'm going to give Wyoming the slight edge. Actually, no. I guess I'll stick with Akron. It's an away game. Wyoming's on the road. I don't believe in Wyoming's coaching staff. It's on a Thursday, on August 28th. Yeah, I'll say that Wyoming is going to lose that game. UNLV, I have beating Sam Houston. Sam Houston is not returning much of their roster from a very good team last season. It's on the road. The Rebels should have the talent advantage. I'm a little nervous about this one, but I do have the Rebels beating Sam Houston in week one. I think San Jose State's going to be pretty good next year. Central Michigan is a team you don't really want to mess around with a little bit. I mean, they're not a great team or anything, but San Jose State needs to be careful. It is at home in California. I do think San Jose State should win this game fairly comfortably. Excited to see how Coach Ken and that offense look this year. Air Force should have no problem versus Bucknell. I think Air Force is going to be much improved this season and really catch a lot of teams off guard. Then we have Reno playing at Penn State. Reno will lose this game 150-0. Not not literally, but it'll kind of feel like that. Penn State, I think the AP came out, and I think Penn State's ranked number one overall because of how much production they're returning from that college football playoff team a season ago. I don't see Reno putting up much of a fight there. New Mexico not going to do very well against Michigan in the Big House, despite all of the controversy of Michigan. I'm going to save this UTEP game and this UTEP Utah State game. Georgia Southern, Fresno State. Again, Fresno State is obviously playing in week 0. But this Georgia Southern team, they were quietly an 8-5 team. They gave Boise State a little bit of scare early on last season. I think that's a pretty good program, all things considered. I had Fresno State losing to Kansas, but I think Matt Entz is going to do a reasonable job. And I will pick Fresno State in this game, although it's kind of a toss-up in my opinion. Fresno State is at home, and the crowd at Fresno State, it's a very good home field advantage. So I'm going to give Fresno State the edge there. Hawaii will be playing Arizona. Arizona's Brent Brennan, and previously the head coach at San Jose State. I don't see a ton of he's not I don't think he's going to be the coach at Arizona for very long, but I don't believe in Hawaii whatsoever. And I don't see Hawaii doing very well in that game against Arizona. Colorado State, I think, is awful. Well, I'm sorry. I think Jay Norvell, for all the resources that he have, is just not a good coach at Colorado State. I'm not saying he's I am kind of saying he's a terrible coach. I'm saying when you look at the resources that he has, he should be producing a lot more. That coach, that city and that school really cares about football and really invests in football. You're going to see me picking against Colorado State a fair amount in this video. So UTEP, Utah State, this is in Logan. I don't think Utah State's going to be very good next season. I could see especially, Ike Larson, their best player, not even arguably, I'm pretty sure maybe besides your quarterback, Bryson Barnes, that Ike Larson is the best player. He's a safety. Bronco Mendenhall is kind of seen as a disciplinarian, a guy that provides a lot of structure. Ultimately, I think Utah State will win this game. UTEP, I think I think it's going to be a fun game though. I'm hoping Malachi Nelson can finally put it together and be the quarterback at El Paso. I'm going to pick Utah State, but I do see a realistic scenario that UTEP does win this game. It is at home. It's in Logan. I'm sure with all the Pac-12 stuff going on and, it just being the first week back, you should see a pretty fun crowd there in Logan. I'm looking forward to it. It's a reasonable tip, 4:30 for kickoff. I said tip. It's not basketball. But, I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to watching it. That'll be one of the games that I'm very closely paying attention to. Finally, this Boise State, Florida game, South Florida game. So I have Boise State going 10-2 this season, having 2 losses somewhere. When you look at their schedule, the obvious loss is on the road at Notre Dame. Picking Boise's second loss is kind of tough because, just not a lot of these teams have given them a ton of fits in the Mountain West that they're playing. And outside of the South Florida game, I don't think their non-conference is crazy. They have a cupcake game, and obviously they do play at Notre Dame. But when I look at their Mountain West schedule, they have a couple of games that they could lose, and I just don't want to pick any of those. I have Boise going 10-2. They're going, I'm kind of spoiling here how I feel like they're going to do, but I'm going to pick Boise State in this game. I really want to pick South Florida. I think that South Florida could absolutely win it. But I just don't believe in that program that they're quite at the level of Boise State. And I think Boise State's going to be excellent next season. So I guess you're going to have to find out where I have that other Boise State loss, because they're going to be favored in 11 out of their 12 games. And so I'm going to pick an upset. Ultimately, that is week 1. Let's move on to week 2. Week 2, we have Boise State, Eastern Washington. Not going to spend time on that. FCS opponent, Boise State should roll. Colorado State should roll Northern Colorado. It's at home. It's FCS. No problems there. Hawaii will play Sam Houston, a team that will have just played UNLV. I'm going to pick Sam Houston this one. Even though Hawaii is at home, it's always tough to travel to the islands. I just don't think Hawaii is going to be very good, and so I think I'm going to have them 2-10 or 1-11. I guess we'll see. I have New Mexico beating Idaho State. Despite what CF Budge may say, I don't think Idaho State's going to be all that good. And I think that Jason Eck, while he's not going to take New Mexico to, a Mountain West championship or the college football playoff or something, I just really like the vibe of that guy. And so I've got New Mexico in a pretty comfortable win over Idaho State. Reno, I have beating Sacramento State and Brennan Marion in his first year in Sacramento. It is a home game for the University of Sparks, for Sparks Community College. This year for Jeff Choate's going to be pretty interesting. This is a game that he has to win just for his schedule and for his resume, for his record. Sacramento State is going to have a little bit of talent, but I don't think they're good. I don't believe in Brennan Marion as a coach in Sacramento. And I actually think, he'd be better off being at a lower level D1 school as opposed to being stuck at a FCS school with not a lot of paths to the Division I level of college football. So I've got Reno cleaning up pretty comfortably against Sacramento State. I will be picking Wyoming, obviously, at home against Northern Iowa. Wyoming should clean up there, no problem. Not going to spend a lot of time talking about San Jose State traveling to Texas. That's a tough one. San Jose State every single year plays essentially 2 really or nearly impossible games on the road. And this year their schedule is a bit lighter, but this game against Texas is a sacrificial lamb type game so that San Jose State can help balance and prop up its athletic budget. Similarly with Utah State will absolutely get crushed by Texas A&M. Again, that's just a game that Bronco and the Aggies set up. And I'm not saying Bronco wasn't hired when this game was scheduled, but it's just a game to go make some money for the school. Fresno State, Oregon State's going to be very interesting. I don't really know about this one because I genuinely think that Malik Murphy is one of the better quarterbacks, maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the G5, certainly. I saw him personally play when I saw BYU play in Austin at the University of Texas. And I think he's a great quarterback, and Oregon State getting him was an absolute win. But I like Fresno here, and I know it's at Oregon State, but ultimately I like Fresno. I can't lie. So I'm going to pick Fresno State in that one. I don't really believe, while I love the talent, some of the talent that Oregon State has, I don't really believe in Trent Bray, their head coach. And I think Fresno State will pull the upset early and signal what could be a pretty mediocre season for Oregon State. I'll save this UCLA, UNLV one. San Diego State, Washington State, pretty clear. I think Washington State should clean up in that game. I don't think much of San Diego State or their coach either coming into this next season. So I'm not going to be picking them a ton. UNLV UCLA is a very interesting game. I think UCLA will be the slight favorite. UCLA will be coming off of a game versus the University of Utah. Depending on how UCLA performs in this game, it'll tell you a lot about the line against UNLV. If UNLV doesn't absolutely crush Idaho State and Sam Houston, they could be in for some trouble against UCLA, a UCLA team that has talent, that has a good quarterback, despite all of the controversy that has surrounded Nico Iamaleava. I do think UCLA is still a Big Ten team with Big Ten talent that took some teams to the wire last season. I don't really believe in their coach. It's probably a 55-60% chance of UCLA winning, in my opinion, and a 40% chance of UNLV winning. I'm going to pick UCLA in this game. I know that it's a very big game for the Rebels. It's one that we've had circled all season. It's at Allegiant Stadium. It's in the city of Las Vegas. But ultimately, I just think early on in Dan Mullen's tenure, it's just going to be tough to get the team together to compete against a Big Ten team so fast. especially with so many guys that there are just too many question marks. If I see UNLV beat Sam Houston, crush Sam Houston, and look very good against Idaho State, maybe I could change my mind on this, but ultimately I just think UCLA is going to have the slight edge. So I have UNLV dropping their first game of the season to the Bruins of UCLA next week. On to week 3 already. Let's keep it moving, guys. New Mexico is going to play UCLA the next week. I don't think New Mexico will have much of a chance there. Fresno State should absolutely kill Southern. You're going to see that I like Fresno State probably a bit more than other people do this season. Hawaii will beat Portland State. I think that'll be their first win of the season. UNLV, this is their Idaho State game. That's a week 0 game now. UNLV will beat Idaho State. I don't know how big of a margin it's going to be because there's going to be a lot of kinks that the offense is working out. I know that both Anthony Calandria and Alex Orji from Dan Mullen's press conference today will see playing time. And so ultimately, it'll be a pretty comfortable win for the Rebels. Reno should clean up against Middle Tennessee, although Middle Tennessee is a real team. Is Middle Tennessee in Conference USA? Maybe I'm confusing them. I apologize that I can't give a better answer. I think Reno will beat Middle Tennessee. Then we have a home game for Wyoming against the University of Utah. And I would just love if Wyoming could, like they did a couple of seasons ago, pull up the upset against the Big 12 team. If you don't remember, a couple of years ago, they beat Texas Tech in Laramie. And so do I think Wyoming has a chance? Yeah, maybe, but Utah should be able to win. Devin Dampier, alongside that ferocious Utah defense led by head coach Kyle Whittingham. I don't see a path for Wyoming because I don't believe in Wyoming's coaching staff, to be honest with you. So if I believed in Wyoming's coaching staff and I believed in their potential, their future, maybe I could pick them in that game, but I can't see it, guys. I'm sorry. Air Force, I think, is going to be much improved this season. It's in Logan, so it's Air Force, Utah State. This is, I believe, our first conference game. I think Air Force is going to be pretty good next season. Not incredible, not ranked, not college football playoff or Mountain West contenders, but a very solid Mountain West team. And despite a really good head coach in Brock Mendenhall, I believe that Air Force will go into Logan in week 3 and beat up on the Utah State University. So, I'm sure some Utah State fans won't love my predictions for them in this video, but I believe in Air Force. I think that they're a good program. And towards the end of last season, they really showed a lot. And Troy Calhoun's a very good head coach. And so that is week 3. Let's move on to week 4. So week 4 has UTSA at Colorado State. This is a big game for the future Pac-12, even for the current Mountain West a little bit. UTSA is a team that has been a serious team in the American. The program's a little down right now. I don't quite know what to make of them. I'm going to pick UTSA to beat Colorado State. Again, I don't believe in Jay Norvell. I think that UTSA, I wish I could have some confidence with this game because I feel like I know a lot more about Colorado State than I do about UTSA. But ultimately, I think that UTSA does take football seriously. They're not coming off of what was UTSA last year. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything here because I don't want to misspeak because if they were like I think they were like 7-5 last season. So in the 2024 season, UTSA was 7-6. Okay, so close enough. They were a bowl team. They beat Memphis. UTSA is a solid AAC team. Obviously, in 2022, I believe they had that miracle kind of 11-1 season where they were very close to making a New Year's Six bowl. Ultimately, I believe in UTSA, and I just don't believe in Jay Norvell. So I'm going to pick the Roadrunners in that one. Wyoming will play at Boulder, the University of Colorado. I have Wyoming losing that game. UNLV will be playing at the University of Miami, Ohio. When I was picking UNLV's record, I had a hard time. I think they're going to go 8-4. And I came down on them losing this game to Miami, Ohio. The way that the bye weeks are set up are very much in the Rebels' favor. If they're good, if they beat UCLA, there's a version of the season where UNLV wins this game comfortably. But I just don't feel comfortable enough with a brand new team, brand new coach, feeling, going cross country. Now, Miami is not some world beater team, but they have been a very good team in the MAC. And so, I just didn't, I felt like I had to have a certain number. I felt like UNLV was going to have a certain number of losses. And when I was looking at their schedule, Miami was just one of them. And, last season they went 9-5. They beat Colorado State 43-17 in the Arizona Bowl. Now, look, they lost a lot of players from that team. I don't remember if they lost their coach or not. Did Miami lose their coach? Ohio lose their coach? I don't think they lost their coach. Yeah, so he's still there. They lost a lot from that team, but I just think Miami. If you saw what they did to Colorado State last year in their bowl game, I think that UNLV is going to lose that one. I'm not sure how that'll go, but I'm going to pick against the Rebels. Fresno State, I think, will have a pretty comfortable game against Hawaii. I know that Hawaii is at home. Again, it's weird to play at the University of Hawaii, but again, I think this is Tommy Chang could be, or Timmy Chang could be fired midseason. I think this could be a disastrous year for the University of Hawaii. Utah State should be able to beat up on McNeese State, no problem. Same with San Jose State against the University of Idaho. Kind of a tricky game for the Boise State Broncos. Ultimately, I'm going to pick Air Force in this game. I don't know. Like, I need Boise State to have 2 losses because I think that when you play their schedule over and over and over again, and you play it, if you played Boise State's schedule 100 times and you played it out over and over and over again, what is the most likely outcome when you look at their schedule? And I think it's either they could lose at Air Force, they could lose several other games in their schedule. I'm going to go with this road game at the Air Force Academy as a loss for the Broncos. I was kind of thinking between this one and USF. Again, I don't feel great about picking this game. On a game by game basis, I would pick the Broncos to win this one. But when I look at their schedule and how I think it's going to play out as a whole, I think they're going to have 2 losses, and I had to pick 2 places they were going to lose, 2 teams they were going to lose to. And Air Force, I think, will be much improved. Boise State, the thing is, Boise State historically has done pretty well against Air Force. So I really don't feel great about this game, but I'm going to pick the Falcons to upset Boise State and really kind of ding their college football playoff hopes a little bit. I mean, they wouldn't be out of it, of course, but I'm going to pick Air Force to upset Boise State. I'm sure Boise State fans will love me picking that, but I just needed to pick 2 games they were going to lose, and that's the one I came in on. Reno against Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky is a very solid Conference USA program. I don't know how great they'll be next season, but they're pretty consistent. I have Western Kentucky beating Reno. Cal, I have over San Diego State. Don't think much of San Diego State. Cal, they're not going to be great next season, but I think they're going to be good enough to beat San Diego State, even on the road. And so that is week 4. Let's move on to week 5. We have Hawaii at Air Force. Air Force should clock Hawaii. We have kind of a tricky App State team at Boise State. I'm sure they will be incredibly frustrated by that loss against Air Force. In my head, as I have it, I have Boise State cleaning up business versus App State pretty hard, to be honest with you. I have San Diego State losing to Northern Illinois, future Mountain West member. Northern Illinois is a solid program. I think they're going to put it together this season. I have San Jose State beating Stanford. I don't think much of Stanford this season, and this is a game that works out very well for San Jose State and their resume. If they can beat Stanford and lose to Texas and come out of their non-conference 3-1, that will be a very successful stint from them. I have New Mexico beating New Mexico State. I don't think Tony Sanchez is a great coach. I have Vanderbilt beating Utah State. Vanderbilt's interesting team. Don't really know what to make of them. They could be. I think Diego Paiva came back for another season, and it's in Knoxville. Utah State has a puncher's chance. I remember a okay UNLV team beat Vanderbilt a couple of years ago. But Vanderbilt's a little better than they used to be. And so I have Utah State probably putting up a pretty good fight against Vanderbilt, but ultimately losing. I will pick Washington State to beat Colorado State next season. Actually, I'm going to flip my pick on this one. Washington State lost a lot. This is a home game. It'll kind of be a backup against the wall game for Jay Norvell, who, if he has a terrible season, could be on the hot seat. Washington State lost a lot. It'll be at home. Colorado State will have all the momentum and motivation in the world, and so a lot of home teams this week. Let's move on to week number 6. I got San Jose State beating New Mexico. I think San Jose State's going to be pretty solid in the non-con. Colorado State, I will have beating San Diego State. that's a matchup that really could kind of go either way. San Diego State should be a little bit better than the putrid self that they were last season. But Colorado State should have enough talent to go down there and just outscore San Diego State. Navy's going to be pretty good next season, so I'll pick them against Air Force. This is the Boise State Notre Dame week. I believe this is this is October 4th. Boise State will probably cover and put up a really good fight against Notre Dame, but I think Notre Dame will ultimately win. UNLV will be on the road at Wyoming after a bye week and a couple of really frustrating losses in the non-con. I think Dan Mullen will rally the guys together and beat up on Wyoming. It won't be too cold by then. I'm happy that this game is early on in the season. Reno will be playing a game at Fresno State. I have Fresno State winning that game, of course. And Fresno State looking good, 5-1 so far. You can see over here on the left, we have where the records are. I've got Boise State at 3-2, Colorado State 3-2. These teams all with conference losses again. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to that's all for week number 6. Let's move to week number 7. Fresno State at Colorado. Fresno State at Colorado State. I've got Fresno State pulling this one off. See, this is tough. So it's interesting because when I've gone through all these teams, their schedules individually, but when you start seeing them kind of in a holistic way like this, Colorado State should be able to beat Fresno State at home. They really should. Boise State will absolutely obliterate New Mexico at home. Coming off of a probably closer than Notre Dame would like loss at Notre Dame. Like, I think Boise State will put up a very good fight at the University of Notre Dame, especially if they drop a early season game like I have predicted them to. Hawaii, again, I'm going to pick Utah State. Hawaii, I'm sorry, you are just going to get the brunt end of my predictions. A tricky game, Air Force at UNLV. I hate, as a fan, playing against a team that plays the triple option. Every fan of every team hates against teams playing the triple option. Air Force is going to be tricky. I think they're going to cover. I think it's going to be a really close game, but I'll have UNLV pulling up a closer than comfortable game in Allegiant Stadium. Thank goodness that game is at Allegiant. San Jose State will be playing the University of Wyoming. Kind of a tough game for San Jose State. I'm going to pick Wyoming here. San Jose State will slip up during conference play, despite their easy schedule, avoiding teams like UNLV, avoiding teams like Boise State. I think San Jose State will slip up somewhere, and at Wyoming is a place where, Wyoming did pull a late season upset last year against Washington State. I think it was in Pullman too. And so there's a little bit of juice there. And I think that they will put something together and kind of slow down San Jose and pull the upset. I'm going to pick San Diego State to beat Reno. Don't believe much in Reno, obviously, this coming season. But San Diego State will badly need this game, and I think that they'll pull it off. Reno will not be great next season, even if they're slightly better. So San Diego State there. Let's move on to week number 8. We have a very good game, San Jose State at Utah State. I would consider this kind of a toss-up. I'm going to pick San Jose State in this one. Every time that future Mountain West and future Pac-12 teams are going to play each other this season, there's going to be a lot of animosity. And I think this could be, not necessarily coming from the San Jose State fan side because they don't have a ton of fans. But if you are a fan of the future Mountain West Conference, it's going to be pretty important that San Jose State doesn't drop games like this just for momentum heading into the new conferences. And so I'm going to pick San Jose State in this game. I like their schedule. I like their coach. I think they have more talent than Utah State. But it's going to be a good game. It could go either way. I'll skip this UNLV Boise State game for now. I will have Colorado State beating Hawaii up pretty good. Again, Hawaii is now 1-7 in my schedule prediction. So rough time for the Rainbow Warriors. Reno will play New Mexico in what could be a very entertaining game. I'm going to pick New Mexico. New Mexico is at home in this one. And Reno sucks. So you lose, Reno. Wyoming at Air Force. I'll pick Air Force here. Wyoming will be coming off of an upset win. And Air Force will just keep chugging along and getting wins and being pretty good, but not great next season. UNLV at Boise State. I'm picking Boise State, of course. Boise State, won 3 straight times against UNLV since UNLV has become a more competitive program. It's going to be tough for the Rebels. I will be at this game. I'm going to try and get to at least one more road game besides this one. I will be up there in Boise on the blue turf to watch UNLV play at Boise State. Boise State's going to be good next season, and they're not going to want to lose a game to UNLV. They're going to want to keep kicking their butts. UNLV could win this game. Maybe you give them a 25, 30% chance, a puncher's chance. But Boise State at home is just a really tall order. If UNLV was going to beat Boise State last season at Allegiant was probably the better opportunity between this game and that game. And that does it for week 8. We're week 9. I mean, we're moving. We're going to be done with this before you guys know it. Boise State, a tricky game at Reno. Boise State hates playing at Reno simply because of the Kellen Moore season, the field goal. I feel like a lot of Boise State fans are always a little nervous playing at the university, at Sparks Community College, as I like to call them. I'm going to pick Boise State in this one pretty comfortably. It'll probably be not comfortable the whole game. Jeff Choate, I feel like he feels like there was a slight pass for him getting the Boise State job. He thinks he should have had a chance at the Boise State job, apparently. He will put up a good game against Boise State, but ultimately, I think Boise State just has too much talent. So I'll pick Boise State in that one. A pretty good one, Fresno State versus San Diego State. I'll have Fresno State cleaning up that one. I'm going to pick Utah State to go into New Mexico and beat the Lobos. That should be a pretty competitive game. These two teams would be pretty evenly matched in my eyes. I like, obviously, Jason Eck as a coach, but I really like Bronco Mendenhall as a coach. And I'm sure that the New Mexico faithful will be out in pretty good force there in Albuquerque. Colorado State, I'm going to pick. Wyoming, I'm going to pick to beat Colorado State. Again, another kind of tricky game for them. They should be able to pick off some. They should be able to pick off a couple teams at home. I think Colorado State's kind of vulnerable because I don't like their quarterback, and it'll start being colder at this point. I mean, we're moving into late October, and the further along in the season that you play at Wyoming, the scarier it is. So I will pick the University of Wyoming in this Week 9 game versus Colorado State. For Week 10, we get a kind of a doozy. We get a Fresno State at Boise State game. Now, if Boise State had to say a single rival in their time in the Mountain West that has been the biggest thorn in their side, the team that has been able to win on the blue turf in the city of Boise, it's probably Fresno State. I do not think Fresno State has the dogs to get it this, for lack of a better term, the dogs to get this done this season. I think Boise State will win this one pretty convincingly. But ultimately, Fresno State will probably make that a pretty fun game, hopefully. But Boise State should be able to win that one. UNLV will beat New Mexico at home. Air Force, I don't know how good Army is going to be next season, so I really don't quite know who to pick in this one. I'm going to pick Army. I'm going to pick Air Force because it's at home. But Army could be. They had a very good season last year, so they could be pretty good. Sticking with Air Force, hopefully it works out. I guess we'll see. Wyoming at San Diego State. I'll pick San Diego State in this one. Wyoming, not going to be a great road team. San Jose State should be able to beat up on Hawaii, who is now 1-8, the Hawaii counter of misery there at the bottom. And so we move on. Week 11. Woo. All right. I'm going to pick Air Force to upset San Jose State. Air Force, San Jose State will just have a couple of slip-ups. They have a pretty favorable conference schedule, but when you lose guys like Nick Nash, despite their incredibly favorable conference schedule and their very good head coach, I think there's going to be a couple slip-ups. And I just think Air Force is going to be pretty good next season. I got to be real. So I'm going to pick Air Force to beat San Jose State and to give San Jose State their second conference loss, which would put them in danger in the conference race. And then I will pick UNLV to beat Colorado State. I was between this game and the Miami game. Like I said before, I picked UNLV to lose the Miami game. Colorado State will probably put up a pretty good fight here. They'll be very motivated for sure. But again, I don't think Jay Norvell has it, and I think UNLV will start to hit a late season rhythm here and really kind of turn it on at this point. San Diego State, I'm going to pick over Hawaii, and then I will be picking Utah State at home against the Sparks Community College located in Reno, Nevada. Week 12, we get a Fresno game at home versus Wyoming. Again, Wyoming's not going to win that. No way. Colorado State at New Mexico. If Colorado State had another game that they could lose, this would kind of be a tough one. It's a road game. Jason Eck will certainly sneak up on a team at some point this coming season. I'm still going to pick Colorado State, but I would just highlight that game in week 12 for you. Air Force should have no problem against UConn. This is another game San Jose State could lose at Reno, but I will still pick San Jose State. Again, Reno at this point, they started off, I believe, in my rankings 3-1 or maybe 3-2 in my schedule. But they're 0-6 in conference play. I don't have them at a single conference win as of right now. Utah State at UNLV. Bronco Mendenhall can beat you if you're not careful, but ultimately, I think UNLV should have a pretty simple game as long as they stay disciplined. I think they should be able to get past Utah State. I'll pick Boise State against San Diego State. This will probably be, San Diego State's best performance of the year, but San Diego State's best performance of the year, not good enough to compete with the Boise State Broncos. We're almost done, guys. We're moving. Week 13, we have a home game for UNLV against Hawaii. I think UNLV will crush Hawaii. Colorado State at Boise State. Boise State certainly has a bad taste in their mouth after that awful game against the Broncos a couple of years ago, where the Broncos lost on a Hail Mary to Dallin Holker. Boise State will be out for blood in this Week 13 game, and I would not expect a kind arrival for the Colorado State Rams. Look out, guys. You're going to be in trouble. San Jose State, I will pick against San Diego State. San Diego State will be coming off of a physical game against Boise State, and the Spartans should be able to clean up pretty good there. I had to pick a conference win somewhere for Reno, and I'm going to pick this game against Wyoming. I think they match up pretty well in terms of talent, obviously, and Wyoming, I think, is just going to kind of be crumbling a little bit as the season has gone on. New Mexico at home against Air Force. Air Force at home against New Mexico. I'll pick Air Force in this game. Air Force, again, I mean, if you're looking at where I have them I think they've got a pretty favorable schedule. And I perhaps am more, it's tough because you just pick game by game, and then where teams end up is where they end up, So when you pick Air Force to beat Boise State, they're going to be in a good position. That's tough. And then Utah State at Fresno State could be a fun game. I'm going to go with Fresno. I'm going to go with the home team there. Week 14. We have Air Force at Colorado State. I think that Colorado State can win this one. I'm going to pick Colorado State to win this one. Air Force, they're not super deep, and late season, you could see them kind of fall apart as the season goes on physically. I mean, they'll still be very disciplined and a solid team. But ultimately, I think Air Force's luck at the top of the Mountain West will probably come to an end right there at the Canvas Stadium in Fort Collins. I'll pick New Mexico to beat San Diego State. I will not be picking Utah State to beat Boise State, but I would just warn Boise State that Bronco Mendenhall, as they very well know from the many times that they played them at BYU, Bronco Mendenhall is a good coach, and just watch out. I just would not want to play Utah State this season. I think they're going to be pretty good, and just be careful, guys. I will pick. This is kind of a tough. San Jose State getting Fresno State at home is a heck of a get for them. I'm going to pick Fresno State in this game. I think Matt Entz. It's really tough. This is a complete coin flip. I mean, do I really think that San Jose State's going to get to 9 wins? Do I really think that Matt Entz is going to get to 9 wins in his first season at Fresno State? I don't know. I'm going to go with San Jose State, and that's a tough one. I hadn't thought about that one yet, but late season Fresno hasn't blown me away with their recruiting, but I just kind of believe in that program. And ultimately, not that San Jose State is an incredible home field advantage, but I'll give the Spartans the slight edge there. Wyoming versus Hawaii. This is Hawaii's chance, man. Wyoming's on the road in the islands. Getting from Laramie to Honolulu is a brutal trip. And San Jose State and Hawaii and Timmy Chang, will finally get a win, as he is shortly thereafter this game led to the door at the University of Hawaii. A trickier game than I would like to admit for UNLV, late season game at Reno. Rivalry games are weird. I'm going to pick the Rebels here because I just think the Rebels have too much talent to fall to a Reno team that, while slightly improved, just doesn't quite have the horses. And so that's going to be a tough one, though. You don't like playing rivals on the week at the end of the season. And ultimately, again, I go through their game by game, and this is kind of what it comes down to. This is the last week of the season. And so ultimately, the Mountain West standings, I have Boise State at top at 10-2. UNLV, I have them at 9-3 in here. I maybe it's my bias that didn't let me pick that fourth game. If, say, for example, in this scenario, UNLV um, Reno at the end of the season, or they lost some other random home game and they were 8-4, it would go to the computer rankings to decide between Air Force, San Jose State, and UNLV which team would play Boise State in the Mountain West championship game. Um, Ultimately, I have UNLV getting back to the Mountain West championship game and playing Boise State. I have them at 8-4. I know I say 9-3 here, but um, I just feel like I feel like they're gonna struggle a little bit. But in conference play, their schedule is pretty advantageous. And so I think this is, even though the schedules and the records may not be perfect, I think this is a pretty good amalgamation of how I feel the Mountain West season is going to go. So in summary, I have Boise State at 10-2 at 7-1 in conference play. I have UNLV at 9-3 at 7-1 in conference play. Again, with a caveat that I really do feel like 8-4 is likely here, but I just, when you're picking games individually like this, it can be tough. Air Force, I have having a really good bounce back season at 9-3 at 6-2. San Jose State 9-3. I have them 6-2 in conference. Colorado State, I have at 7-5, 5-3. Fresno State, I have at 8-4, 5-3 in conference play. Then we get down to the weaker teams in conference. I have Utah State, another kind of bounce back, solid little start for Bronco Mendenhall in Logan, 5-7, 3-5. San Diego State, I have 4-8 next season, and perhaps it will be the beginning of the end for their head coach. New Mexico have being kind of a plucky little fun team, 9th in the conference, 4-8, 2-6. Wyoming, I have struggling next season, 3-9 like they were last season, 2-6 in conference play. Reno, I have at 4-8, which, because of a couple of easier games, they could get to 4 wins and maybe break their 2-win streak that they're on right now. Going 1-7 in conference play, and then Hawaii, I have going 2-10. So, doing it out like this, I think the thing that's the weirdest is Air Force being this good. They're a really young team. I could see people quibbling with that prediction. And ultimately, picking games like this all in a row, this is a lot of games you pick. And so, it's not a precise science. It's more of a general overview of how you see a season going. But I'm really excited for this Mountain West season, guys. I hope that as fan bases in the Mountain West, we can all kind of have fun with it, And if you disagree with me, if you think one of my takes are crazy, if you think Air Force beating Boise State is crazy, which I'm sure would be the biggest take, I would you rather me have picked them against USF? I don't think picking Boise State to go 10-2 is disrespectful to the Broncos at all. That's a very good record. So if you have a take that you think that I made that was crazy or something, you let me know down in the comments. I will talk to you about it. Email me, give me your opinions. I want to know what you guys think. And I want to know what your feelings are in the leave below in the comments your predicted finish, maybe your top 5 to top 7 in the Mountain West next season so that I can read it. I'd love to know what you guys think. Please like this video. This was a lot of fun to make, guys. I loved it. And subscribe to the channel and let's run.